Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, it's October 16, 2013. I have amazing news. This is it's breaking, sort of. It's broken. How's broken? Is broken a better?
$17 trillion in debt. Nothing's been done about it. I'd say broken is
a pretty good.
Appropriate.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, no, there's been something done. We lifted the debt ceiling temporarily through December.
Which is awesome. We got crashed by rhinos.
You get all the credit for that one.
A crash of rhinos. They're not a herd of rhinos. It's a crash of rhinos.
I don't know
and
what
really
you're talking about. I'm just talking about the fact that the Red Sox are in the LCS, and even though they're not winning right now, it's top of the eighth, and they're down 7-2. They are up 2-1 in the series, so I knew Detroit was going to be a hard series.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I was going to do this show tonight.
But if I'm going to have that attitude?
But if you're going to have that attitude, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Oh, inside jokes. I love inside jokes. So much going on this week, and it seems like every week for the last, month?
I'm not talking to you right now.
I don't care. I'm talking.
You're looking at me like you expect me to say something.
I'm sorry. I'm talking to the listeners.
Talk to the listeners because I'm not here right now.
But I was reading a great article this week by our good friend Tammy J over on the Black Sphere. It's called "The 47 Bodies Left in the Wake of Hillary Clinton."
Well, you're just jumping right in today, aren't you? No, hi, how you doing? No, yeah, I'm not talking to you. I forgot. I apologize. No, you're right. I forgot. I'm not talking to you right now.
Right. So what does it matter?
I don't know. I just forget I said anything.
If you have a chance.
Where are you going, Sacco? And what is that mouse in your hand? What is that thing? Is that
a barking
dog?
mouse? It's a barking mouse.
That's cute.
If you have a chance.
Thank you for bringing the snack for my shepherd.
If you have a chance, go over and check it out. It's an amazing article. I don't want to get too much into it, but Tammy J, a good friend of ours, once again nails it. It's really eye-opening. I was blown away by some of the facts and incidents that she brought up that may have or has fallen by the wayside in actuality. So that was kind of cool. So if you get a chance, check it out over at the Black Sphere. How are you, my friend, in all honesty?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm just okay. Well, here's the thing. I was under the First Amendment, I have the right to petition my government for redresses,
Absolutely.
Right? So I went to the White House website, and I was going to email the White House, and up on the website, when I click that link, it says, due to Congress's failure to pass legislation to fund the government, the information on this website may not be up to date. Submissions may not be processed, and we may not be able to respond to your inquiries. So I believe my First Amendment right is being violated.
Well, especially because
What do you think?
I think so. To a point. That's been up for a while, for 16 days now, where Congress gets blamed instead of, we're going to go into the cuteness of the Obama administration during this whole shutdown, and everyone's talked about it, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's one of those things where I said you had to actually pay somebody to update the website to say that versus just leave it as it is and let it process as normal. But I don't know if it's necessarily been violated.
Why not? If I can't petition them and nobody is there,
there are alternative methods. They didn't shut down the postal service. I believe you could still call.
The switchboard was shut down, correct?
Yeah, but you could still call.
Right.
You just can't get through.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Nobody's reading the mail.
Right.
Got it.
So it's fine.
Okay. Forget I said anything.
If
Never
you're
mind.
holding an amnesty rally,
a carrier pigeon,
carrier pigeon would work as well. Naked mole rat with a little note attached to it. I don't know all the ins and outs of it.
Okay. You
Did
just
the
wanted
government
to say, you know what? That was a bet that he couldn't get naked and ins and outs in one breath on the show, and he was able to do it.
Week.
So, good job.
I don't know if it's necessarily been violated. It was the shutdown was used brilliantly, if you will, politically.
If I will,
by the White House to make the true conservatives look like jackasses to the best of their ability.
To the people that don't pay attention
to the low
what's
information
really
voters, the people that don't pay attention to what's going on, the people who don't understand the soundbite republic, as I like to call some of them, where it's just, this is on CNN, and if they say it, well, it must be great. So a lot of things were made difficult. One of the things that was made difficult is the National Park Service. One of the things that was able to open and run amazingly was Obamacare. I am still
No, it didn't run amazingly.
No.
It's barely running at all.
I think was Obamacare.
I think it's limping. I don't even know if it's limping. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the zombie from Walking Dead that had no legs. And one arm was messed up. So it was trying to crawl along.
Right.
And it could barely move. That is what Obamacare is doing.
Forbes released a thing today, earlier this morning, that said the Obamacare website is crashing because it doesn't want you to know how costly its plans are. And there's a lot of people that are saying that people are starting to dig into these plans, and all of a sudden it's much more expensive than people thought. There was the legend of Mitch, or whatever his name was, a couple of weeks ago, who said that he got all this awesome coverage on Obamacare.
Romney said this?
No, Mitch, not Mitch.
Oh, sorry.
I can't remember the kid's name.
It sounds like something Romney would say, though. So
every liberal newspaper in the world
was doing sound bites from the kid and clips and all this other stuff, and then we found out later that he was a liar and he actually didn't sign up for it.
He was 3.
There was one state, and
he was 3,
right,
and he took like that.
No, he was like
24.
Oh, same thing.
24, 25. He was the typical voter that this whole bill was put towards.
Can you say that? Is that offensive? Can you say typical voter?
Can you say it anymore?
I don't know. Because I think if you say typical and then anything, I think somebody is offended by it, right?
I'm just a typical white guy.
See what I mean? For example, if like the Redskins were playing and you'd say, oh, that's a typical Redskin maneuver, I mean, somebody would be offended by that, right? I'm talking about the Washington Redskins, the football team.
Right. But naturally, somebody would take offense to that, Bob Costas being one of them.
Let's talk about this for a moment.
Okay. I knew we were going to get into this.
So, listen. So Redskins originally came from certain Native American warriors that would actually put red paint on. It wasn't. It had nothing to do with their skin color.
Right.
Okay. And they were warriors, brave warriors, and that's what the football team is named after. But now there's some group somewhere that decided that they think it has to do with the color of skin pigmentation, and it does not.
So, I wonder if those people also show the.
What do you mean those people? Listen, this is the kind of insensitivity that gets us in trouble as conservatives.
Because you say people who believe that it's an insult allow their children to watch Peter Pan.
I would hope not, because talk about Disney is so hateful. Remember Brer Rabbit?
Yes.
And Uncle Remus?
Yes.
You can't even get that movie in the United States anymore.
What makes the red man red?
No, that's Peter Pan again.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
it's awesome. And Tiger Lily. What kind of name is Tiger Lily? Really? You were so how Big Chief? I mean, so listen. There's some other sporting teams' names that are actually kind of offensive, and I'm talking NFL teams. So I think these other teams should have to change their name also. For example, the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Why don't we call them the Minnesota Nordics? Because Vikings could be offensive. Actually,
because
hang on.
Nordics is a motorcycle group.
Those are I don't know. Listen, but I forget. There's a white guy on their helmets, so let's just call them the Minnesota Crackers, and everybody will be okay with that.
Crackers, AHS,
right? Crackers, because they're from Minnesota. We can call them the Minnesota Caucasians, the Minnesota Caucasian Warriors,
right?
The Minnesota Pillagers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay.
How about just the Minnesota Minnesotians?
I like that one.
I want to see that on the front of their jersey.
I like that one. How's about this? Now, Carolina Panthers.
Right.
That's another one because the Panther it's black.
Some of them, yeah. It can also be tan.
But I'm talking on their helmets. The uniform, it's a Black Panther,
yes.
Which clearly this group is named after an extremist group. It's just insinuated because otherwise the Panther would be like white or purple or something like that. But this is a Black Panther. So the Carolina Black Panthers is clearly an extremist organization that I find offensive given their history of violence. So how's about the Carolina Kitty Cats?
Ooh.
You like that one?
Carolina Kittens.
Carolina Kittens.
I'm down for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull out another one. The Saints.
That was my next one. Why are we bringing
religious overtone? They shouldn't be allowed.
They
should not be allowed at all.
No.
It should be the agnostics.
Or how's about the New Orleans nice people?
really big helpers.
Yeah. The New Orleans helpers. The New Orleans Volunteers.
Rooster has a good point in the chat room. He says, isn't the Panther a step up from a Cougar, a woman in her 50s?
No, hang on. We'll get into the Jacksonville Jaguars here in a second. So simmer down there.
The Jaguars, which, as everyone knows, is the ultimate when you go Cougars, Panthers, Jaguars. So.
Right. So, okay, how's about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Right.
Buccaneers.
Insult to pirates everywhere.
Yeah, they were pillagers.
Yep.
We need to call them, their symbol is a skull and crossed swords with a football.
Mm-hmm.
And red, the color of blood. Clearly,
Evil.
this is a violent team, and the owners want nothing but violence to be portrayed.
Right.
So I think they should be called the Tampa Bay Sailors.
The Tampa Bay Longshoremen.
the Tampa Bay Schooners.
I have another issue, too. Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't make steel anymore.
And not only that, but because meanings change, as we find out from Redskins, it actually could mean thieves.
Right.
Even though it's spelled differently, we're not going to listen, logic does not play into this.
Right. So that one doesn't go. Cincinnati Bengals?
Why don't we call them Tigers? I mean, are they Bengal? Why are we being race specific on the Tigers?
Exactly.
Why is it a Bengal tiger?
Bengals are an endangered species.
Okay.
So now, if you're rooting against them, you want the species to
die out.
Yeah, I don't think that's okay.
I don't think
not
that's
with me anyhow.
New York Giants. Why can't we call them New York larger people? New York.
The New York light bulb changers.
People of greater size. New York big and tall.
New York big and tall.
New York big and tall.
I like that one.
Okay. New England Patriots. Now, this one's going to hit close to home for you, but why is there so much hate? Clearly, this is a Tea Party.
New England extremists.
This is a Patriots is bad term.
Right.
So how many times has that team been audited by the IRS?
Oh, thousands.
So second of all, why are they so New England extremists? I like that. New England terrorists.
The New England terrorists. Right? The New England faction.
Okay. The New England evil militia. Nasties.
The New England anarchists.
The New England poo-poo heads.
What about the
New England teabaggers?
The New England teabaggers.
New England Tea Party.
Right.
Because I would actually switch teams if that were the case.
You know what? I'll call Mr. Kraft and see what I can work out for you. The Green Bay Packers.
Now that has now they don't make fudge up there.
No,
and I
think it's
cheese.
Packers.
But Packers can have sign of a negative connotation because of the whole negative term towards alternate lifestyle people and homosexuals. So I think Packers,
that does not. That's not a good one.
Sound. I mean, it's a descriptive name for that particular team.
But that's still not really. Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed.
So what are the Green Bay Cheez-Its?
The Green Bay Cheezers.
The Green Bay. I like Green Bay Cheezers.
But Green Bay aged thickened dairy products.
Well, you can't have aged because
that shows. So that also debunks Rooster's Cougar Jaguar statement.
Yeah, you can't.
Because age would be involved, and now there's discrimination there against somebody else.
You can't do that.
Miami Dolphins. I mean, come on, they get caught in tuna fish nets. Hello.
But I think maybe it's being dolphin safe, so why not call them Miami Dolphin Safes?
Dude, that would be
right. The Miami Dolphin Safes.
So ridiculous.
New York Jets. Listen, New York and Jets clearly don't go together since 9/11.
Right. That
people could find that offensive, so we should call it maybe the New York biplanes.
No.
The monoplanes. The
New York Wright brothers.
New York Wright brothers. Okay.
That wouldn't be a terrible
the New York
one.
Flyers.
The New York Flyers. Yeah. That
right.
would be good.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys. Well, if you can't say Indians, you can't say Cowboys.
Right, because you can't play Cowboys and Indians
anymore. Right.
Anymore. So the Dallas
gone.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah, let's just
the Dallas football team.
The Dallas football professionals.
How about the Dallas Stars?
What? No, that's already a hockey team.
So, who watches hockey? Nobody watches hockey. I'm waiting for Rooster to pop up in the chat room on that one.
Let's see. Obviously Kansas City Redskins, not going to happen.
No, Kansas City Chiefs. You mean? Because not all Indians, not all Native Americans are Chiefs.
Right.
So it's discriminatory.
Plus, that shows a hierarchy amongst people, which is not allowed anymore.
Yeah. So and I mean, Chiefs. Really, why are you singling out all of the little people? That's like a 1%er name.
So I'm going to call them Kansas City Babybacks.
Okay. Well, how about the Kansas City Arrowheads? Just like their stadium, just the Arrowhead.
No, because Arrowhead would now insinuate Native Americans because they used arrows, and that's not going to go.
Were they big in Kansas City? I didn't.
The Midwest.
Okay. So why not just call them the Kansas City Native American guys?
No, I think we should just change it to the Babybackers.
Okay.
Let's see. The Texans, well, obviously that's not acceptable because
you can't be a Texan at all.
Right.
I mean, if you're from Texas, you should just abolish all teams from Texas because you're just violent.
Texas Rangers too in the baseball team. That's just going to assume like that's a.
I'm an AOF fan,
authority,
so I would go ahead and just get rid of them.
Yeah, that'll help you out quite a bit.
The Oakland Raiders, again, black. The symbol is black, dark, ominous. Raiders connotates a mean, nasty criminal. So why not the Oakland folks who were rehabilitated?
How about
Oakland parolees? That's not a stretch.
No, I've been to Oakland a few times. How about the Oakland Happy Towners? Like, let's try to change the entire face of.
And instead of listen for them, like their football uniforms could be like breast cancer awareness pink all year long. Just because it's happy. The Oakland Skippers.
Wouldn't that be the 49ers, though? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
49ers, not everyone who lived in San Francisco was a minor.
Right.
So now that's just discriminatory to assume
and not all of them came there in 1849.
No. Some people were there before, afterwards.
1848.
Some people got involved in the gold rush well after 1849. It lasted for a long time. So that's just a misleading statement. And to be honest, it's kind of insulting. St. Louis Rams, now they're not going to be around for much longer anyhow, so that doesn't matter.
The Arizona Birdies.
The
Arizona Tweets.
The Denver Ponies.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves ponies. And I think
San Diego Chargers.
Houston Oilers. Stop. Environmentalists, listen to me now.
They don't exist anymore.
What, the environmentalists?
No, the Houston Oilers.
Right.
So why are we even bringing them up? They went away because of the environmentalist movement, I'm sure. One corrected it.
I was going to say they should relocate to South Dakota and reopen up there because they're going to have oil up there. South Dakota, North Dakota area.
Oilers?
Yeah, just saying.
South Dakota shale.
The shale. And the frackers.
You crackers.
Oh, and last but not least, the
San Diego Chargers. Listen, with our debt the way it is,
why are we going to?
Why are we celebrating?
Or is it that people are charging over the border in San Diego into the country? Either way, yeah. And the lightning bolt, because they're really fast. Combine that with Speedy Gonzalez from Looney Tunes, and I think you were on to probably the most racist football team in the history of mankind. So that's our NFL coverage for the week, ladies and gentlemen.
How ridiculous! Change your name from the Redskins.
It's sad that even the president had a comment on it.
Why on anything?
But why does that even matter? And this goes to show you, that combined with his little comment, I think it was today.
I like how you say little. His little comment, completely just
do nothing comment,
minimize it.
He was asked, one of the coolest perks about being president. What is it? What's one of the coolest perks about being president?
Blowjobs in the Oval Office.
For me, we keep the Redskins. We don't change. I'm not a Redskins fan, and the question was asked in the chat room. We were obviously being facetious.
Absolutely.
Don't change anything. Don't bow down to this ridiculous. Listen, it's a storied franchise.
It is.
And like you said, it was named out of respect.
It was named for a fierce
It's a
football
warrior.
team. It's a warrior, to be warriors, to be fierce and tough. It was actually made to honor that.
Right.
A team is not going to give itself a
I don't care when they were made.
Yeah, they're not going to give
it's
themselves.
Like the Cleveland Indians. They're going to be the Cleveland Indians forever, and there's a reason.
That's ridiculous.
Well, as long
the Oakland Athletics. Not everybody's athletic.
This is true. We're not. I am the best example of that. This is just ridiculous. But the president was asked this week, what are the coolest perks about being president? I could go down a list of things. One of the coolest perks for me would have been to be held in such a high regard that I was elected president of one of the greatest nations on the face of the planet, the greatest nation. And that alone is the only perk I need. Yeah, there's some nice conveniences about being president, but nothing, and I mean nothing, is better than that. So, to me, that's the end-all, be-all.
What did he say?
When he calls people, they answer.
Are you kidding me?
No.
But that's his mentality, right? I mean, that actually plays into his
all about him
tyrannical.
It's all about
form
him
of leadership or lack of leadership, but more rule that he thinks.
I would also like to challenge that theory with him.
Dictator, sorry.
Mr. President, our phone number here on the show is 347-205-9399. If you choose to call in and Sacco screens it, we're not going to answer. Look at you.
I want to talk to him.
I know. I want to have a conversation with him, too.
I want to have that debate with him.
Yes. I know. There's so many debates we want to have with him, and believe me. But I just found that to be amazingly self-centered, to say that, oh, the coolest thing is when I call somebody, they answer. One of the things I pointed out immediately on Twitter earlier this week when that came out, or today, is don't you wish that folks that were in Benghazi got that same treatment? When they called somebody actually answered.
Well, somebody might have answered. The answer was just no.
Right. But to me, that's just asinine to say that. It's frustrating. There are many different things you could have brought up, or turn around and say, you know what, I don't look at it as a perk. I look at it as things that get my job done easier. My job is the coolest perk.
But you know what? And you know who I see acting more and more in that fashion is Harry Reid.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but did you know Reid is Latin, and it comes from the Latin root word jalapeno, meaning penis. So his name is actually Harry Penis. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Do I need to fact check that?
Why are you doubting me? Listen, I'm right most of the time.
Well, because there's been a few things that you've told me that I've gone out and touted as fact.
Right.
And apparently, and I didn't know this, but it's not okay to sing I Am the Bomb on an airplane. Now, it was a long 3 days, and I eventually got to sit down again.
Right.
However, when I asked you about that, you said, oh, no, you're fine. So in this particular circumstance, I want to know if the Latin root for read because this is something that I know you, and you were sitting at home this week, and you're like, I know I'm going to screw with him next. I'm going to make him call him Harry Penis all week. And then he'll research it and be like, oh, son of a...
Listen, would I do that? Look, you know that I am a linguist of sorts.
A cunning one at that.
And so if I tell you that reed has a Latin root word, is actually Latin, from the Latin root word jalapeno, meaning penis, you should take that on its face. Is Obama getting live right now?
No, that's pretty much my response to your statement right now. Is I don't have a really good word or anything to counteract it. So,
well, look, Harry Penis has been acting completely
more and more self-centered. He's making himself more and more self-important in our government.
Well, not only that, but he's acting. Look at the rhetoric that he's come out with over this whole thing.
Right.
I mean, he's come out with terror. I mean, we've pointed this out on the shows over the last couple of weeks, but terrorists, extremists, shutting down the about the whole government, shut down, quote unquote, and all this other stuff. I mean, his rhetoric has been so divisive and so heated that as a leader of the Senate, I mean, as a leader even in his party, I would think that he would lead and bring people together. You know what? If one of the underlings is using that type of language, and maybe in private he's saying, "Yeah, good job, way to stick it to him," but in public he's saying, "Hey, you know what? We don't need this kind of language. We need to come together right now. We need to work on a solution." That language does nothing but, I mean, if I was a representative in the Tea Party caucus or in Congress as a Republican or conservative or whatever, and he was using that type of language, I would want to tell him to go screw himself. I would not want to work. That does not foster a working relationship, and I think he should be brought up. I think he should be brought up on charges for hostile work environment.
That'd be great,
because clearly he's in violation of EEO.
I am going to tweet Ted Cruz at the break and bring that up to him. No, I agree with you, and I think even Democrats to a point have to look at him and go, "Hey,
penis."
Harry Penis, what are you doing? Like, this isn't, you're making us look like the jerk. More importantly, you seem to keep putting yourself to the forefront and that we're like your followers versus the representative of the people. I would be mad, even if I was a complete liberal progressive, which I am not, but if I were, I'd be mad that he'd use that rhetoric because as a professional lawmaker and an elected official in this country, I would expect his professionalism. He doesn't have to agree.
Exactly.
That's fine. That's politics. That's the way of the game.
He has to represent his people, even though he should represent his state, but that's another discussion.
Right. His people meaning every single progressive liberal instead of Nevada.
Right.
But his job is to go out there and as the majority leader, even more so, be that leader, that person on the forefront that goes, hey, you guys, we don't agree, this and that, but we're going to find a way to overcome this. We're going to speak. You can comment about what you don't like. Hey, I don't appreciate the fact that, or there are members of the GOP party that are making this difficult because of their constituents' beliefs, things like that. Okay, I can accept. I don't like your message, but I can appreciate the way that message would be formed. To go out there and call them faction, what did that idiot in Southern California call us Tea Partiers, is the whole suicide vest comment thing.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody is at all.
That was a Republican.
I know. No, I said idiot. Nobody.
No, you're right. I apologize.
Is taking that to task and holding them accountable for those words, and that drives me insane.
Who's going to hold them accountable? The media?
You know what?
Nobody is. Nobody in the mainstream media is going to hold them accountable. You and I will.
You know who should have? Is the president.
Yeah, but he has the same type of rhetoric. Remember when he's waving their little tea bags around? Remember that little condescending little remark that he said? Everything's condescending out of him. But a real president who even would have came out, and I even think Clinton to a point may have go, hey, I don't want to listen to the name calling. I want you guys to come together and solve the problem. Stop this.
This isn't healthy for the American people. I don't know if he would have said those exact words, but I think even Clinton got it to that point.
I would agree with that.
I think that he was more of a professional. Whether I disagree with his politics, I think he dealt with things more professionally.
Do you think Hillary would deal with things more professional?
No. I really
You're
don't.
endorsing Hillary 2016? That's what I got out of that whole exchange.
Not at all.
Okay, I was just...
No, I think Hillary would be much worse. She made a comment this week about Benghazi and Biden that kind of threw him under the bus. Mm-hmm. She's already starting. It's only going to get worse. I think she will be the anti-Clinton, the anti-Bill Clinton if she ever gets elected in office, that she's going to just be much more harsh with her rhetoric, and she's going to follow the same tone that Obama started with.
Unless, if she wins, Bill can kind of temper that a little bit, because Bill actually had a fair amount of success in his presidency, and I think he doesn't want. I don't think he would want the Clinton. Yeah, I don't think he'd want the Clinton legacy to go down in that manner. We're up against a break right now. Mm-hmm. When we come back, I want to talk about this deal that was reached today. Talk about Harry Penis. Call him his English translation of the name. Talk about Harry Reid and John McCain as well, and some of the things that he did behind the scenes. By the way, did you know McCain is actually Latin also? And it's Latin from the root word jalapeno, meaning scrotum. So just something to think about.
I thought it was Latin for clock.
Fact.
We'll be back at 3 on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world, to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we are back here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Funny part is the mute button. It's important when you're doing a radio show to know the proper positioning of said mute button. And when you talk for a second and say you're a professional and the mute button is on, it kind of offsets that. So listen, I blame Sacco once again because he should. Sacco, mute button next time. Stop. All right?
Listen, I want to apologize in that I actually did some fact-checking.
We did some fact-checking.
We did. We did some fact-checking.
About the actual meaning of read.
Yeah, the actual meaning of read, it is Latin, from the root word jalapeno, habanero, apparently. And it actually means, go ahead, Sean.
Head of penile.
Head of
penile head. Of penis head.
Yeah. So we'll just call him Reed, just for simplicity.
So we found out less than 45 minutes ago that the House passed the
Senate resolution.
Now
I want to go back for a second because if any of our listeners out there, all three of you, Mom, hi, if you say, hey, wait a second, I thought these bills had to originate in the House. You're correct. These types of bills have to originate in the House. What the Senate did is they took a House bill, basically completely gutted it, added all their own crap into there, packaged it up in a nice new bow, and shipped it back over to the House, which then had to pass it in its new form for the president's signature.
And he already said he's going to sign it.
Of course he's going to sign it. They got freaking everything they wanted. The only thing the Republicans, I think, were able to keep in there was sequester. I think that, look, I think it gets lost on both parties, really, Republicans and Democrats, because everything seems to be, well, our party, your party. It's not about the party. You know, I was thinking about when our founders crafted the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. There was debate that was had on a representative by representative basis, and states were polled. They sat in their own state delegations. They weren't really in party factions because of the obviously inherent problems associated with that, which I think we're starting to see, because you have Republicans and Democrats fighting about Republican and Democrat ideals, and nobody comes to any consensus. Look, I think the president was fully willing to perhaps purposely default on the United States debt obligations in order to prove a point.
Well,
now on that, I think they should have let it happen, and then after he committed that high crime and misdemeanor, I think they should have impeached his ass for it. But that's a different decision.
Every economist that you listen to says that we made more than enough money to pay off our interest.
We did. Well, the interest payment is a small portion, which we would have had money to pay, but that's neither here nor there.
What I'm saying is, in no way should we default.
No, of course not. But the Republicans ended up bringing this into a fight of Republican versus Democrat. Look, you had a Tea Party delegation that actually did what they were sent by their constituents to do. They represented their constituents' concerns. I mean, they wanted, whether you think Obamacare is a proper fight to have, they were basically standing up for what 60% of the population want. They held firm.
Yeah.
And guess what, folks? Somebody would have had to have blinked. And if the Republicans in the Senate would have actually held together, I think that the Republicans or the conservatives would have gotten more. Right now, what they get, all they did is they kicked this down the road a little bit. We are at almost $17 trillion in debt. There is not one thing in this bill that is done in order to deal with that. It's been kicked down the road, so we're going to be having this fight again. By the time you deal with the Thanksgiving holidays, Christmas holidays, and they're taking time away, they don't have much time before they're going to be back at this again. And the only chip the Republicans have in the game is sequester. And you have an Obamacare rollout that has been flush with problems, frustrations, People can't get on. It's obviously not working right. How much tax dollars is being poured into this to fix these problems and tweaks and everything else? They've had 3 years to get this right.
Yeah.
If a private company had rolled out this crap product, the market would have killed it.
Yeah, destroyed it.
There is no way this would be allowed to go on, and so I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in that the representatives can't get together and have meaningful discussion. You have a side that says, you know what, we're not going to debate anything. Look, I bring it up again. The House passed 4 bills, 4, from defunding all the way down to, hey, let's just have a meeting about this. And it was the Democrats in the Senate that rejected it every time. This isn't the GOP shutdown, folks. They did their job. They sent 4 bills over. It's their job to send the funding bills over. The Senate kicked all of them back, every single one of them. And now you have this group that's blaming. And look, I think the reason they did it is because the Democrats knew that the media was going to blame the Republicans, specifically the conservatives in the group. But I think that the Republicans may get something out of this long term, the conservatives, and here's why I say that. As this Obamacare rollout continues, and it's bad, and I think people are really seeing how horrible it is and how screwed up it is, I think this is going to get them traction because you have the Ted Cruzes and the Tom McClintocks who are going to get up and say, hey, you know what? We tried fighting for you. We tried fighting for this. And this is our job as your representatives to fight for this, and we did it. And listen, in order to prevent more pain because of the things the administration was doing, people capitulated, and we were unable to fight the good fight any longer. We just didn't have the numbers. We didn't have those brave men and women to stand with us anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, without saying, without it being sour grapes or anything like that, it is the sad part is that it will be seen down the line. Now, you know as well as I do, they're going to do everything they can once it starts really being a train wreck. It's already a pretty bad train wreck. To blame everything but Obamacare for it. Oh, the people who designed the website sucked, but the program's great. The state exchanges were the ones that screwed up X, Y, and Z. The federal program is amazing. I also think that at some point that's going to be their way to try to get the federal program back to completely fed and get rid of the state exchanges. That's just my opinion. And so on and so forth. So we all know Obamacare is going to be a train wreck. Everyone who has ever read the bill, anyone who's studied the economics of it, doctors, you look at how many prominent medical professionals, politicians that are coming out against it and saying what a crisis it is and that we're being led into a bigger crisis of biblical proportions. What do you mean biblical? Have all said this can't happen, but now it's going to. And yeah, the GOP down the line may have that in their back pocket going into the next midterms, and I don't even know if the full effects won't hit by the next midterms. Well, there'll be a lot to discuss during those midterms about why it's bad.
This fight right here that we just had will be forgotten by the time the midterms come around because we have another fight coming in January and February.
Right. But hopefully, as time goes on, these people, even these Rhino Republicans, who are just trying to get, in my opinion, just reelected, and they're trying to reach out to that middle and some on the left, if they have that.
They're playing politics. They don't stand for
pure
principles.
Politics.
They don't stand for principles, in my opinion.
And that needs to not be forgotten. But you also can't let them walk it back. And they will. They're going to make statements like, yeah, I didn't vote against it because, at the time, something was better than nothing. We needed health care reform, and I'm just thinking of my people, but I didn't really like it. I wasn't a big fan. It's like Kerry saying I was for it before I was against it.
What they'll say is, listen, people were being hurt. We really needed to get the government open.
Right.
And so basically they're owning the shutdown? No. There was money to keep websites up. There was money to leave an open-air World War II memorial wide open. So by you saying, well, people were hurting, we really need to reopen this, you're kind of giving the whole Obama administration credence. You're kind of giving their argument legs. Why would you do that? Now, I want to talk about briefly Obama and his talk about we're going to default on the debt if the debt ceiling's not raised.
Yeah.
The Treasury Secretary has the authority to choose the order that U.S. debt is paid.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a 1789 act that was enacted that allowed the Treasury Department to be entrusted with the management of the revenue. So the duty of the Treasury Department is to do just that. They can say, hey, we're not going to pay money here. We're going to pay money towards our debt. And the reason that is so that they can actually maintain the full faith and credit of the United States. And the 14th Amendment of the Constitution backs that up. But how many people know that?
Few and far between. Those who don't read it. Those who accept
which goes back to the problem. And it also allows the progressives and it allows the left to frame the argument how they see fit and sell it to an uneducated populace.
Well, and once again, the Republicans, and I don't mean the conservatives and the Tea Parties when I say this, so please understand that, but the Republicans have once again bowed and broke under name calling, essentially. Mm-hmm. They've walked away from principle because they're being called bad names. Mm-hmm. And they've far more than negotiated. They've given everything in. You know, they keep playing poker and going all in on a bluff. It's amazing.
Do you remember H.R. 807? The House passed it earlier this year, late last year. I don't remember which. But it said specifically that the national debt be paid in case of impasse over the debt limit. It required that in law. Not only that, it gave the president the authority to exceed that in order to protect our status. And our revenues are what? 9 or 10 times what the payment of our national debt, the interest is?
Yeah, the actual payment.
So with that much coming in, we can make that interest payment. This is easy, folks.
But it was made intentionally difficult by those on the left in order to prove a point.
It was. And that's why I think, listen, I think over this whole thing, some on the left are flirting very, very closely with impeachable offenses. I think if, look, I really think that if the Republican Party, the conservatives held firm and they were able to keep this impasse going, I really believe that the president would have defaulted on this debt on purpose to prove a point. I believe that.
You look at other things that he's done in this shutdown, and it bolsters your comments on that. Look at he shut people out of such.
Well, Sean, I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal around here.
You are kind of a big deal. You're a big thing. But he's done other things to make it difficult to make this political, to win the political, instead of the good of the people and the shutdown or whatever, made this shutdown hurt people individually, and he went after some of our, I don't want to say weaker, but some of our more protected, that we look at as protected people, our veterans first and foremost, many of which are elderly. You know, he essentially threw them in the middle of this, saying, oh, look at what the Republicans are doing to these poor. They caused the shutdown. I have to do this. And we're going to get into the National Park Service director today was in the hot seat, and Trey Gowdy.
Good.
And I have all the clips from that. We're going to get into that later on. Trey Gowdy is just more and more, I just hold him in such a higher respect as time goes on, because the questions he's not afraid to ask. All of those things very much had intent. This was all a political game. And if you don't think so, and the fact that they try to make the GOP, the Republicans, more importantly, the conservatives and the Tea Parties, the wacko birds and the problems behind this.
They have to, though, because to them, the Tea Party is a threat. It's dangerous. They are trying to drag the rest of the country, in their minds, kicking and screaming back into times of a true constitutional republic. Let's take a call.
We are, and we have a special guest tonight who sometimes fills in for Clint when he's on vacation.
Nobody can fill my shoes, just so you know.
Our good friend Tammy J is on the air. Tammy, how are you?
Hi, guys.
Good
Idea
evening.
Of vacation. Weren't you stuck in an airport or something?
That's vacation for him. That's where he loves
that's
to be.
Vacation for me. It's I wasn't really stuck in an airport. I was actually in the air.
But he was
looking out of
stuck
some windows.
You were stuck in the plane.
I was stuck
Same
in the
thing.
plane.
Same thing.
Stuck on the plane. I mean, planes are just essentially Greyhound buses with wings these days. But yeah, I'm crashing your party.
You're welcome. We love to have you anytime. You're welcome.
Well, I heard you were talking about my article about all the dead bodies in Hillary's wake, and gosh, you guys, you cannot believe it's kind of going viral. It's pushed our site through. You would not believe how many views. I think we topped 79,000 today.
I know. That is, it's so funny because when you read those stories individually, and I can remember reading all those stories, and it's up on the blacksphere.com. When you read those stories individually, you're like, oh, wow, that's some slight weird coincidences here and there. But when you start reading them back to back to back and so on and so forth, it then becomes frightening.
Yeah, it's too much to be coincidence. And as I read them all, and then a lot of them have really creepy stuff with them. Now, I've only put up 10 so far. And people, if you look at it, if you go to theblacksphere.net and look at 47 bodies left in the wake of Hillary Clinton, it's just part one. I'm going to do 4 different parts because 47, I'm doing a page per person. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but the problem is a lot of these stories have been scrubbed and scoured from the Internet, from the news sites that had originally hosted them, which made me even more stubborn and suspicious as I'm doing all the me stubborn.
You?
But when you hear that somebody who was a bodyguard on Clinton, who had a dossier that was maybe going to turn it over, that a car pulled up to his car, shot him execution style with suppressed weapons that were 9 mils. When you hear about execution style shootings like this is not normal. And for all these different bodies to be, and there's all these suicides. Now, I do know one person in my entire life that committed suicide, and it's very, very, very sad. But for there to be a plethora of strange shootings, strange suicides, strange plane wrecks, on and on and on. And these are just what we know about. I've heard from people that are from Arkansas that say there could be as much as hundreds of people that have kind of mysteriously died in the wake of the Clintons themselves. So my idea is to roll this out now, get it as viral as possible, and then keep doing the series. And I'm going to bring it up every once in a while because Hillary is eyeballing 2016. Everybody knows that. Benghazi should have discredited her anyway. But on top of that, there's this whole history that we've got a generation of just starry-eyed idiots out there voting that don't understand what the Clintons have done. And
for me, it's one of those things, too. I've known a lot of people. I've known people from the wrong side of the tracks, if you will. Some of them with political power. I'm from Massachusetts.
Right.
You think of like major political families where there's been some questionable things that have gone on. The first thing that comes to mind is Ted Kennedy.
All the Kennedys. Their dad Kennedy.
This pales in comparison. If you start reading through this, it's frightening to think that 2 people knew this many people that died closely. And it's not like these, hey, I understand politicians, they quote-unquote know people because they've seen an event and, I got that autograph, or I'm a staffer in an office 2,000 miles away from the person is. That's not knowing the person. They know a majority of these people intimately.
Yeah, and the time frame of the deaths, the time frame of the death is rather close. And so the whole thing is just chilling. And what's interesting, Sean and Clint, is that Hillary is in this marriage of convenience, and the reason d'etre for their marriage is accrual of power. And you think
Hold on,
about
I'm
it.
looking up d'etre. Okay, go ahead. I got it.
But Hillary, if she was on her own, she's got the tenacity and the spine, and she's got other anatomical parts that our president and John Boehner are missing. But she doesn't have any charm offensive. She's
No.
I would call her a
offensive.
witch because I'm a nice girl. I'm like Annie M on The Wizard of Oz. That being a Christian woman, I can't tell you what I really think after all these years. And that's
We'll
Hillary
say it when
Clinton.
you hang up.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying. So on her own, she wouldn't have gotten this far. Bill, on the other hand, is such a womanizer. I don't know if he could be as focused as Hillary is. Hillary's the one that's really got the razor sharp focus. Bill doesn't have as much focus because he's too much looking at the broads and doing all that stuff. But he's got the charm offensive. So between the two of them, that's how they've gotten as far as they have. She's tough as nails and dirty as they come, and he is just a philanderer and charming and all that kind of stuff. And between the two of them, they've gotten where they are, but Hillary's not finished yet. She wants to go farther, and barring something really amazing, she may be our next president, which just saddens me to no end.
It's frightening. They are like a bad sitcom or something on Fox where they're almost like anti-heroes. Like you want to root against them, but they're the main characters.
Yeah. If they weren't really
like
in our political
FX
spectrum,
or
we'd be
something.
laughing.
Right, exactly. If this was a sitcom, you'd be like, wow, this is really intense. Like it'd be one of the highest rating shows going. The problem is that it's not. It's one of the most powerful political families in the country. And you have two people, and listen, I think part of the reason that she's that way is because Bill being Bill has created that even further. He's caused her to be spiteful. He's caused her to be angry. He's caused her to want to be...
Real good, Sean. It's all the man's fault.
It is.
No, I get it.
It is.
I see you're playing to the feminist viewer.
You brought up the young lady who was executed in the Starbucks behind closed doors with three other individuals.
That's not weird, is it?
That allegedly may have had an affair with him.
But it was a robbery, right?
But it was a robbery,
all the
right?
cash was
It was a robbery, but the money was left. There's no sign of forced entry, and
right.
They were just all shot, and she was shot several times. Everything that you read just doesn't pass the smell test.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it's things like that he was having affairs left and right.
Well, hang on a second. I'm not a
more
detective or anything,
angry.
but that sounds completely legit to me.
Well, yeah.
They shot everyone, and they shot her to pieces, and they didn't take all the money. So yeah, that sounds about right.
They executed her, killed the witnesses, left the money, and locked the door behind them on the way out the door.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
isn't that the way it usually happens? I mean, golly, I watch NCIS. That's the way it happens.
I think Putin did it.
Yeah, maybe there is a Putin.
Clearly, Putin rode up on his horse. His shirt was off. They were looking. I'm just spitballing here.
Well,
Bill got mad.
Mr. KGB could have done it. Yeah, I'm sure.
Are you going to put this in a book?
Am I going to put this in a book?
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that, but one could do something like that, I suppose. Well, by the time I get done with this series, it's going to be long.
Yeah, and that's why it might be nice in a book. I bet you would have yourself I would say a bestseller. I'd buy it.
Now, only if you knew an editor that did it professionally. I'm just saying that could get to. Oh wait.
Huh.
And the funny thing is, now that I've got my show and with what I'm doing with the Black Sphere in combination with my show, I actually know a lot of publicists. I get all the galley copies of all these books to read to have people on the show. It's crazy.
And here's what you do. So you take the first part has 10 pages to it. You print these 10 pages out. You have chapter 1 done. Okay?
Yeah.
And then when you do the next 10 pages, I would be willing to bet that you could expand on each one of these cases and turn each case into a chapter and have a best-selling book by the time you're done.
Wow, well, Clint, you're just an inspiration.
That's not the first time I've heard that I'm an inspiration, but I thank you.
And if you need to investigate the reporters to go to these out of the way places and start questioning people, I'm just saying.
I know.
I would encourage you to do that, Tammy. And I'll tell you what, I read this and I was actually thirsty for more. I wanted more. And with you have an outstanding writing ability, and I'm being completely serious when I say it's a book that I would love to pick up and read if you were to take that project on. I know it'd be a big project, but
yeah, but well, who knows? You've given me some ideas, so who knows? Maybe I'll run with it. It's funny, the writers that write for me at the Black Sphere, always, one of them, Jeannie from Long Island, she is so cool. She said, Tammy, when I grow up, I want to be a writer like you. And she's a bit older than me. She's the sweetest gal in the world. And I just thought that was so cute because I don't always have as much time to write as I'd like. But, you know, one thing that I was on a show before this because we had a Gang of 405 special, and I told the guys that one of the things that talked me into voting for W, because he was not my first choice in that particular election, but I read his book, A Charge to Keep, and I loved it because he went to his pastor and said, should I run for president? And his pastor said, listen, George, if you think you've got something to give, you love America, you love the Constitution, you hate to see what could happen if it goes down the other path. Granted, I didn't agree with him fiscally, but there were a lot of things he did do. He had a good heart. He was a good man. And he said, what you do is you run on what you believe to be right in your heart, according to the Constitution and before God. And if you get elected, you go to D.C. and you govern on those principles. If you get voted out, so be it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You and your Laura get back to Texas where you love to be. And so I read that book before I voted for him, and it persuaded me because he said I felt that I had this responsibility, that I loved America, and if they were going to vote me in and over everybody else, I'd go with what I knew to be right and do it. And if they voted me out, I'd be happy too. So, you know, and we don't seem to have a lot of politicians that do that anymore. They don't have that feeling that, you know, if I'm there, good, if I'm back home, better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we need.
No, I agree with you. And it comes down to principle. And if you're honest and you have your principle, whether people agree or disagree, at least you have that principle and you have that honesty. Yeah. And if you're judged on that. Like you said, so be it. If you don't win, you go home. I mean, really, losing for him was going home to live in Texas, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And winning means that he felt he could follow his dream. That needs to be done more. I'm with you. I didn't agree with Bush fiscally. I agree with him on a good majority of things, but the fiscal, the TARP, all that stuff. But I think that was him. I think that was him trying to appease everybody and kind of throw a Hail Mary before he left.
And the fact that he went to his pastor speaks volumes about the man's character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because most people, what they do, they might go to a pollster or a publicist type person and say, you think I can do this? Can I get the power base? Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Bubbles.
Right. Hey, what do you think, President? I know you're going to college and all, but
put your finger in the air. Well, I should go. I just wanted to call up and say hey and thank you for talking about the article and you've given me some things to think about.
Hey, that's what we do here on the show. We give people things to think about, and we create hate mail. So
I know you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Really, if you could just tell all your friends that would be outstandanding.
I will tell everybody.
Where can people find you?
You've got to listen to the Sackheads. They're inspirational. Where can people find me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, okay. Of course they know I'm at Tammy J on Twitter. I'm the editor of theblacksphere.net. I have my own site, rightvoicemedia.com, and I'm on the 405radio.com every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. I also am the permanent fill-in host for the Bill Post radio show, so that's, you know, once a month, a week, a quarter, something like that. It's a real paid gig, and it's a Salem affiliate station, so I'm in a real live studio, and it's just fun as can be. Plus, I get to say that I'm on the Salem Communications farm team bench, so that's kind of cool.
Not for long. I have a feeling you're going to get called up to the bigs anytime now, Tammy.
Absolutely.
I truly believe that. That's not just lip service. I really believe that. Hey, Tammy, thank you so much for calling in. We're up against a break. We will talk to you soon. Can't wait for the book to come out. I'm glad you announced it here first.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tammy.
We'll be back in a few here on the Sackheads Radio Show. We do have callers on hold, and we might even get to them.
Hello, I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people will be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. You want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis? That is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Hey, we're back. Thanks again to our good friend Tammy J for joining us for the last half of that. Back to the shutdown, or the reopen, if you will. I don't even know what it's called anymore. We can't call it a shutdown because we're not shut down.
Is it the closed open?
It's the closed open. By the way, one of the worst chest wounds you could possibly have.
That would be a sucking chest wound.
Yes.
For 300.
Not a good one.
Not a good one.
You want to get that checked right away. So we had some. I have some clips from. I have some clips from early today from the Senate after they passed the grand reopening. I like that one. The grand reopening. The going out of business
not very
sale.
grand.
Going out of business.
Who wants an aircraft carrier?
This is Harry Reid after the Senate passed the bill to reopen the government. We'll listen to his clip, and I can't wait to hear Clint's comments.
Our country came to the brink of a disaster. But in the end, political adversaries set aside their differences and disagreements to prevent that disaster. I thank the Republican leader for his diligent efforts to reach this important agreement. Republican leaders' cooperation was essential to reach an accord that could pass both chambers of Congress and also be signed by President Obama. As part of our agreement, in order to assure Congress continues the work of setting this country on a path of fiscal sustainability, this legislation instructs leaders to name conferees to a budget conference committee that will set our country on a long-term path to fiscal sustainability. Madam President, I know that some say that's going to be hard. But what we do is hard here, and this is really hard, but I think we can get it done. The committee members selected must have open minds, be willing to consider every option, no matter how painful to their own political ideas and even their own political parties. This
blah 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 blah.
So now he likes them because they
bowed
gave
down
him
and
everything that they wanted, completely caved in, except for the sequester still in effect.
Disaster. We were just right there. We
grips of. You know what's weird is didn't we actually hit the debt limit like a few months ago, and the wheel was still.
We were also
turning.
in the grips of disaster then.
We're always just hanging by a
Have you ever seen
thread.
a bridge in like a third world country where you cross it, it's just a rope in the middle with like the broken steps and the two sides like Indiana Jones?
Yeah, remember that one we went across ourselves on our trip? Yeah.
We're always crossing that bridge if you listen to Democrats. It is the biggest.
But every time we cross it, more panels fall out.
Right.
Another rope breaks.
But then when we pass their bill, they find a way to fix it, so it's not as dangerous. It's still not great.
Right.
Because we're not doing everything they want to do.
Right.
But it's
we tied that rope back.
Yeah, we tied the rope back. So not to be outdone, the human turtle himself, Mitch McConnell, said, hey, if you're going to talk about how great we did, I'm going to talk about how great we did.
On this agreement. There's a lot more we need to do to get our nation's fiscal house in order. Hopefully, once we've gotten past the drama of the moment, we can get to work on it. But for now, let's not understate the importance of the Budget Control Act or the importance of the fight to preserve it. This legislation is the largest spending reduction bill of the last quarter century and the largest deficit reduction bill since 1981 that didn't include a tax hike. Preserving this law is critically important to the future of our country. Throughout this debate, the public has rightly focused on Obamacare, for good reason. This law is ravaging our economy, killing jobs, driving up premiums, and driving people off the health care plans they have and like in droves. Its disastrous rollout is a sign of even worse things to come. And the refusal to delay it reflects a kind of stubborn ideological obsession to do untold damage to our country. And Republicans remain determined to repeal this terrible law. But for today, the relief we hope for is to reopen the government, avoid default, and protect the historic cuts we achieved under the Budget Control Act. This is far less than many of us had hoped for, frankly, but it's far better than what some had sought.
He went on to say, hey, Speedy, and wanted to challenge a rabbit to a race. I don't understand why.
So they were all congratulating each other on being masters of the entire world.
But he said exactly what we've been saying and a lot of other people have been saying. For now, we saved it.
But he didn't save anything.
Right. You kicked it down the road.
You kicked it down the road.
And you gave in on a lot of stuff.
And
that's not saving.
We were not going. I go back to what I was saying before. We were not going to default. We couldn't default. If we did default, somebody would have been charged. Impeachment charges would have been brought if the president directed his Treasury
to intentionally default.
The Treasury has the power to decide which bills they pay. And the Government Accountability Office has reaffirmed that time and time again.
So
I don't.
You know, so a little while before, and I'm going to play one last clip, and then we'll take a few calls. I know Rooster's been waiting for a while. A little while before they went to vote, when the House passed it, Speaker Boner was on WLW in Cincinnati talking, and this is how you knew it was coming. This is just prior to the House vote.
Well, listen, we've been locked in a fight over here, trying to bring government down to size, trying to do our best to stop Obamacare, and we fought the good fight. We just didn't win.
Can you win December 15th when Ryan and Patty Murray get together and do this deal? Is this like a step on the ladder?
Well, I would hope so, but we'll see. You know, every time I've gotten into a discussion with the president, vice president, the Democrats here in Washington, and talk about entitlement changes, trying to make these programs sustainable, all they want to do is raise taxes. Well, we can't do that unless you're willing to raise taxes. And so if they're going to hold on to their position that we're always going to raise taxes, then we're not going to come to an agreement. But hope springs eternal.
Why did you stop them right there? Because you always keep breaking. This is the typical tough talk. We're going to give him this time. Stop. Like, when are we going to get rid of this Boehner guy?
Here, listen, here's what it is. Listen, okay, I'm going to sell you my car, and I want $5,000. No. I want $2,000. No. I want $100. No. I'll give you $5,000. Okay.
Right. And I want you to a new set of tires.
Right. Before I take your car and
on
you
the
give
Rambler.
me $5,000. I mean,
it just continues to boggle my mind. This is why the GOP establishment does not get it. This is why true conservatives are furious at them. This is exactly what they do each and every time. And this is one of the reasons we are where we are in this country.
Yep.
This is one of the reasons why we have things like Obamacare. This is one of the reasons why we spend so much money that it is out of control. This is why entitlement is out of control. This is why this nation has fallen to where it is.
Yeah, we fought the good fight. No, you didn't.
No.
If you fought the good fight, you would have held firm.
Right.
You did not fight the good fight.
You can't lose and say you fought it.
You did your job. If you did your job, you would have held firm and actually done what you were there to do. The Tea Party folks did.
Yeah.
They represented their constituents. Every Republican that voted yes for this, how did they represent their constituents?
Lousy.
I mean, they were chosen to be a Republican, correct? They were chosen, most of them.
Well, Ken in the chat room's equating it to, hey, Coach, we tried, but you lost 99-3. It's like the Republican establishment is now the Washington Generals and the Democrats are the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, it's the same show every single time. The Generals are never going to win.
No, you're going to shoot that and the rubber band's going to pull it back into your hand. No, it won't, I promise. This time it won't, I promise.
No, that's a bucket of water. No, it's confetti. No, it's going to be a bucket of water. I'm going to throw it on. Just once, I want to see the ref grab the bucket and hit him with it. Stop throwing this at me. But that's what we need to do. This is where we are. This is how pathetic it's gotten. And this tough talk that they have with no spine at all is only going to lead us further down the path of just total annihilation. It's bad. It's bad, folks. These are the people you elect. Make them suffer the next election. Do not allow them
at the voting booth.
Yeah, at the voting booth. Do not allow them to get back in there. They don't deserve your vote.
What's Congress's approval rating? 5%?
18%.
How, wow, you gave them 8 or 13. Listen, how why do they keep getting reelected? Every single one of them. Why do they keep getting reelected?
Bleh.
You
know what's funny is one of the polls I saw today, I thought it was on Fox, did say it was an 18% approval rating. 11% of the country, or 11% of the representatives, are Tea Party conservatives. So it's safe to say the majority of what's approved of comes from the Tea Party conservative side. What?
I am so astonished that you actually think that makes sense.
It does make sense. Hey, if you pull a Harry Reid,
I ate 90% of my dinner, but I have 100% of my peas left. But it makes sense that I ate 90% of my peas.
What? 60% of the time, it works every time.
60% of the time, I'm right 100% of the time.
Oh, we've... let's go to Rooster first. Rooster's been on hold. No? You want to hold on to Rooster?
No, because if this first caller's good, I want Rooster to comment.
Okay, that's a good idea. Hey, Brown. Oh.
Fuck your
There
food.
we go. Brown.
Huh?
What? Brown, are you there? Hello? Wow, super feedback.
I think he just used potty mouth. Next, and he's at a train stop. Okay, Brown, thanks for listening. Rooster!
Who calls in from a steam engine? Who does that? Was he calling from the talkie box where you crank it? Like, how did he even get through?
Was he trying to send, like, Morse code?
Jessica, the next time a train calls, don't put him through to us, please. I didn't realize Thomas was on hold.
Did you hear him say F your food? Was it a homeless guy calling from a payphone at a train station? What is this? And how does he get Sackheads Radio?
I wonder. Oh, maybe he called the White House to complain, and they phoned him over to.
Maybe he was like asking for $1, and somebody said, "No, man, I'll give you a cheeseburger." And he's like, "Fuck your food."
I'm on hold with the Sackhead.
Yeah, I'm on hold with the Sackhead. I got health care and stuff.
That's exactly. I think that's exactly how.
And his name was Brown Beastie. That's what it gave our. I mean, really? Oh no, he stumbled out into traffic.
Hey, be careful, Brown. That's a joke, son. A flag waver.
And now a man who needs no intro, but we give him one anyhow.
And who's not homeless and calling from a train station that I know of.
No, but I have a beef.
Oh, boy.
Oh, gosh. Hi, Rooster. How are you tonight?
We're doing lunch.
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Nice. Listen, quit trying to be like Harry Reid, just being rude right off the bat.
I have a beef.
You always have a beef with us.
You always have a beef.
Look, I know you know my phone
you?
number. When it pops up, I know you guys know it's me. But could Jessica just screen my call, please?
Okay, from now on, instead of you going into the direct queue because you don't need to be screened and we trust you and we know you and you're a dear, good friend of our show, I will make sure that Jessica screens you.
Listen, don't say that because now the NSA is going to call in cloning Rooster's number. And they're going to immediately get on the show.
No, Rooster uses a series of relays and switches.
It could be Chief J Strongbow, which would also be Rooster. You never know who's going to call from area code 301.
Did you say Jawbone? Why would they call you Jawbone? I don't want to know.
All right, listen. You know, Sean and I were chatting earlier. I was watching C-SPAN tonight.
Oh, I know. This is awful. You really going to bring this up again?
Well, no. Actually, you can bring it up yourself if you want. I was going to tell Clint that I actually saw the gentleman from Georgia stand up in the middle of the House and tell everybody that he took an oath to keep the federal government open.
He did?
Yeah, he did.
I thought he took an oath to uphold the Constitution.
That's what I thought also. So listen.
Huh.
And then I also saw the thing with Nancy.
What did you see with Nancy? I wasn't there for that conversation.
Well, she was sitting in a chair right across from John Boehner, and I swear that she did the basic instinct leg cross.
You know what? I thought now.
So
it
now
was
I'm
weird
convinced that she is really a Sith Lord.
Well, hang on. What was weird is I was actually watching C-SPAN also, and I think I know the moment you're talking about because like a green fog enveloped the chamber for a brief second.
Exactly.
Wow.
Right? And there was
Come
like
on.
I didn't say sticky progressive juice.
No.
I was going to.
What?
I think she's trying to bring him over to the dark side. So listen, let me get this straight.
Maybe that's why Boehner cried in the past. Maybe he's seen that before.
Let me get this straight. I just heard. I read that article, by the way, that Tammy J wrote.
Yes,
it's
great article.
I was going to steal it, but as you know, I don't do that.
No.
But did I hear Tammy J say that Boehner and Obama are both ballless wonders?
Yes.
And
She didn't
that,
use those exact words.
and that Bill Clinton could talk the dress off of a nun.
Yes. She didn't use those exact words because Tammy is a lady.
I know.
But yes, to
but
paraphrase,
that's basically
you are
what she said.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Are we good and clear on that?
Here we are. I just
Hey,
wanted to make sure that we got ballless wonder out.
I knew you. I know you had your article back late September. You called exactly what happened.
I missed it by 15 days.
You did. No. But overall, you would get on with it. Anything that came out of this that surprised you?
No, not a
Good.
thing.
This is radio. That's good radio when you have not a thing.
I'll tell you. Actually,
my cousin Vinny, you were dead on balls accurate.
Damn straight I was.
You were.
September 30th, by the way. You can tell the people on the 5. That's when I wrote mine.
Yeah, no.
Assholes.
I think they watch our show or listen to our
steal
show.
all the time.
Yeah.
And then Dana Perino's on O'Reilly tonight saying, I called it. She didn't call anything. She read my goddamn article. Not that I wouldn't do her.
You know,
here's
your
my
subtle
message.
cues that we love. Yes, here's your message because we're up against the break.
Are you that guy on the Postivac commercial?
I love the fact that he didn't deny it. He just giggled at all. Where else can you have this much fun and be a conservative radio show? Come on.
2 popsicle sticks and some duct tape. That's all I got for it.
Now that's the olden days.
That's right that way. No, nothing surprised me, but you know what? You know what surprises me is that the Tea Party doesn't just go third party now. But and let me tell you why. Because not only are they getting it from the Democrats, they're getting it from their own party. They're both making them out to be the bad guys. So why not just be the bad guys then? Not the Tea Party caucus. No, we are the Tea Party. You are the Republicans. You interbreed with the Democrats, and then you come out with some sort of McConnell-like creature.
Turtle. Yeah, listen, I think the time is now, and I think there's a good chance.
Let Nancy have the House. She can be the Speaker again, and we'll take our 40. And what do we got in the Senate? Cruz, Lee, Paul, and Rubio, 3.5 men.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure Rubio out because he goes both ways. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. Sacco just said he's bipolitical. I don't know where.
Tell Sacco that I will use that in an article.
He just wants to be quoted occasionally. I don't think it'll happen before 2014. I think they have to run in order to keep their name, because once the GOP pulls that money, it's gone. I know that the Tea Party will be able to get good funding, but right now the funding that they just need from the party in general and the exposure will be needed for 2014. There's not enough time. I think as soon as 2014 is over, you may see the attempted establishment of that official third party. I really, truly believe that. I think this is a huge nail.
Do you think Boehner did a good job this time?
No.
I think, what did he ruin? What one thing did he ruin right now? And Ken's in the chat room right now. Does Ken Cuccinelli stand a chance in Virginia now?
No,
not at all. But here's one thing I will say. And it's because of the shutdown.
All those federal workers that work up in Northern Virginia that even had an inkling of voting for Ken Cuccinelli is not going to do it now. So there's another state. It was right for the picking.
I do have to say this about Boner, and I'm not a fan by any stretch of the imagination, but as the Speaker of the House, he's in a little bit different position in that he has to represent the House, all members of the House, even the Democrats, like it or not. And so at some point, even though he is the leader of the Republican Party in the House, he does actually have to represent the House as a whole. And so he does have to be somewhat conciliatory on some things. Again, I'm not a fan of his.
Doesn't the same apply to Harry Reid? Harry Penis.
Harry Penis. It does. But Harry Reid, as a leader, was using language that was so divisive. He's calling fellow Americans terrorists. He's calling fellow Americans out the way he did is different, and that's the difference between the two. Reid does have to be a leader and represent the Senate as a whole, but
so did John McCain, and so did Mitch McConnell.
No, John McCain does not. John McCain is not
the majority.
The majority. He is not
the minority leader.
Yeah, he is not the head of the Senate. He's not, and neither is Nancy Pelosi. She's not Speaker of the House. That's not their function. Harry Reid's function, John Boehner's function, they have to be leaders of their respective chambers and represent those chambers as a whole. Now, Harry Reid as an individual, look, he doesn't need to use the language he used in this whole thing, and it is his job as the leader of that chamber to try and bring everybody together to reach a compromise. But when you say you're not going to compromise, you're failing in your leadership right then and there. So Harry Reid failed in his role in that respect. John Boehner, while he may have think he fought a good fight or whatnot, he does have to try and reach some consensus, which he did. The House set 4 separate bills up, each one more and more watered down. I believe they did try and negotiate with people who were not negotiating. But as Speaker of the House,
he ended up where he should have started.
He ended up what?
He ended up, that last bill that they pushed up, that's where he should have started. Nobody was ever going to defund Obamacare, and we all know it.
No, but you know what? It gave them wiggle room.
No,
it gave them room to negotiate.
When you negotiate, you don't start.
You don't start at the bottom. You don't start low when you're negotiating.
The problem is there was no negotiation done. It was a demand, and they kept breaking and breaking and breaking.
So again, while I'm no fan of Boner's, I think he did do a kind of his job as far as leader of the House representing everyone. We're up against a break right now. Rooster, you want to hang on?
No, actually, guys, I got to catch the rest of it on the phone because I got an early morning.
All right, Rooster. Hey,
thank you, my friend. Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net. Check out his page. You will love it. We'll be back in 3 with Sackheads Radio with breaking news.
I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people would be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at ConservativeOutcry.net, but I really mean it. You want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis? That is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. ConservativeOutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on ConservativeOutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
The government watching us?
It's the closest thing I have to a breaking news thing.
Oh.
Does it work?
No.
All right. Well, either that or we're being aerated. Cory Booker was announced today. Fox News and other news sources are announcing that he won the Senate seat in New Jersey, so the Democrats will retain that seat.
Congratulations, Mr. Bookman. What's his name?
Cory Booker, not Bookman.
Oh, congratulations, Mr. Booker.
So we're going to wrap up the shutdown talk in a minute. We do have one more caller who wants to talk shutdown. Hey, caller, you're on the air with Sackheads Radio Show. How are you, sir?
Hey, good evening. Brown Beasley. I've been listening to you guys, and you guys seem like you have a much more rational and thought-out approach as far as considering the dynamics with the shutdown. I was wondering what you guys thought. Do you remember when the Syria story broke?
Yes.
About a month ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, I've never been on your show or listened to your show. I'm assuming you guys were deep into that.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, we were.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Like as most people were in most shows and the news. And I'm just curious of what any of you thought. First off, I have a number of different points to make. Is that...
Well, we have a limited amount of time, though. We have another segment we have to get to, make your big points.
I'll speak quick. If I only get to make one point, that's fine. Doesn't it look like that Syria story was just like a huge distraction? It obviously wasn't as important as everyone is making it because it's completely disappeared from the news, and it's also disappeared from our consciousness. I find when the three cable news networks, CNN, well, the three major ones, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, when they're focusing on a story, and they seem to skip from story to story, but they're all focusing on the same story at the same time.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if any of you thought that this entire melodrama that we've seen played out in Washington, if this perhaps was another distraction, because I'm firmly convinced, as I was during this alleged Syria crisis, that it was a distraction. And it seems like guys like you that seem and sound like you're smart and that you think.
we try sometimes.
Well,
and I agree, and I appreciate your comments very much. So thank you, Brown. It is a distraction. Listen, we all know as certain things come up, the government knows what bills are on the table. They know what timing's coming up. They know when things are going to hit. They're not stupid. There are certain things.
They're stupid.
Let me say they're not. They're conveniently stupid, if you will, but they're not overall stupid. They have a plan in place. Sure, when things like Syria comes up, it's done for a reason. I'm not saying that there wasn't a crisis in Syria. There certainly was, but it wasn't a new crisis. chemical weapons were allegedly used within the first few weeks of the whole outbreak of the Civil War. So.
And what stories disappeared when Syria came out? You don't hear any more about the IRS,
right?
And the targeting that the IRS was doing. You don't hear any more about Benghazi. A lot of these other issues that was really plaguing the Obama administration kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah.
And then you had Syria and the administration's handling of Syria and kind of their Middle Eastern foreign policy, which has been a disaster. And now all of a sudden you have this debt crisis, and no, we're not negotiating, and they force these issues and close things and really want to make the American people hurt. Again, all of that takes focus away from everything else that's going on.
Well, and you look at the shutdown, too. All of a sudden the shutdown started, and we have an open dialogue with Iran. Hey, look, we're talking to Iran. We're going to finally find peace with Iran. And the president talked to the leader of Iran, and blah, 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 blah. Weird that all of a sudden we're in the middle of a shutdown and now Iran is our first priority, and the mainstream media pushes that narrative and they continue that narrative. And now watch, now the government's reopened. You won't hear about Iran until after the holidays when we start to talk about this bill and the debt ceiling, continuing resolution, blah, 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 blah. That's a good call. Thanks, Brown. We've said time and again, there are a lot of convenient distractions. That is pushed forward by the president via Jay the Carney. Did you have another point you wanted to make real quick, sir?
No, I guess you guys concur.
I certainly do. I thank you for your call and for listening. Let's see. Oh, God, all these professionals are calling us tonight. Is this Ken? Or is this
No, man.
Oh.
I'm standing in line here at the Walmart. Because, my EBT card ain't working or nothing, right?
You should go down to Louisiana. You should go down to Louisiana because they still go to Louisiana. There was zero limits when it was turned back on, and everybody. It was almost like these government employees that didn't work for 16 days are going to get all their money back.
Excuse me, sir. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's these cameras that you can actually, like traffic cameras that you can actually zoom in on live. I'm online right now, and I'd like you to please put your grill back in and pull your pants up, please, before we go any further. I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I like you have Huggy Bear on your boxer briefs. That's cute. But if you can pull those up, I think the people behind you in line right there, the lady making the face and wrinkling her nose up, I think she would feel better as well.
Hey, Ken, you do
that
know
wasn't me. That wasn't me, man. That wasn't me. That time, that wasn't me. I don't know why she's wrinkling her nose. That wouldn't be that time.
Ken, you are aware of the fact that when you call in character of some sort, we get a kick of trying to get you to laugh yourself out of character. That is just like a daymaker.
Absolutely. Hey, sir, and don't forget to throw that 40 bottle in the recycle bin
on your way out.
Your way out when you pick that up.
Yeah, I always do that so I can get my 5 cents. I put it right in the recycle bin. Yeah, man. Think I don't know about green jobs? What you talking about?
We're not talking marijuana, are we?
Green jobs.
We're talking marijuana?
I love how recycling is a green job. Hey, Ken, you're right there in the belly of the beast, as some of our other friends were. You hearing anything? I know you have some lines direct into big places, and I'm not going to say where or how. You hearing anything that we're not hearing on the outside, if you will?
I have no line. I have no line associated with Michelle Tips. So there.
Hey, Ken, I want to apologize to my partner and his clearly racially insensitive remarks of you being on the inside and us being on the outside. Clearly, that was a racial slur aimed at insinuating that you were in prison because of your race.
He's not?
So I'm going to apologize for that right now.
See, but I want to tell y'all something. I've been affirmatively exercising my restraint and controlling how I responded to such inquiries on matters regarding racial hostilities and tensions that might be confounding those who may not be listening.
Well, I'm gonna apologize.
Excelsior.
I'm gonna apologize. Philanthropy.
Hey, Ken, I'm glad you have me on the phone because I have a few clips to play.
Yeah.
I'm sure your reaction on the shutdown is very much the same as ours. I saw you in the chat room, so I don't think that we have to go beating this horse repeatedly. I want to talk today about the National Park Service.
Oh, that sounds so interesting.
Jarvis speaking before the Oversight Committee with, and Trey Gowdy just lit him up. And I'm going to play the first clip and get your reaction. Here we go.
Cool.
Jarvis, in October of 2011, Occupy protesters descended upon McPherson Square, and they decided to stay. Despite the clear language of the law, these protesters camped at McPherson Square with the definition of camping being sleeping or preparing to sleep for 100 days. They camped in violation of the law, and you did not make a single solitary arrest for camping. So Congress decided to have a hearing and ask you why you were not enforcing the law. And you told us, Mr. Jarvis, that you had a great deal of discretion in how and when to enforce the law. You told us that you were, after 100 days of not enforcing the plain language of the statute, working with protesters to, quote, gain compliance, whatever the hell that means, with the law, and what you called, quote, a measured and reasoned approach. By the way, Mr. Jarvis, those were your words, not mine. So the law says no camping, but the protesters camped anyway, and you didn't do anything in terms of arrest or citations for over 100 days. So, Mr. Jarvis, I want you to fast forward 2 years.
I love how he minces his words and he doesn't quite get to the point.
Yeah, he really needs to be more direct, and the fact that his contempt is dripping from his voice as the venom is spewing, I love it.
I don't understand why he's upset. He's a government worker. That was part of the course. I thought we had discretion. It's in the manual. Discretion. It's under D. Discretion.
First of all, who's the manual?
Yeah, I don't know who.
I don't know.
And why are we keeping laws under him?
Yeah,
that's just weird. Well, you know, when the president can decide that we're not going to enforce
I'm more interested
INS,
in being dead horses.
If the president can decide that we don't want to enforce immigration law, then I guess the director of the National Park Service can turn around and say we don't want to enforce the laws of the land. I don't see what the problem is. The guy who appointed him does it on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, what happened to DOMA?
You know what? Here's the thing. We have equal protection under the law. So as long as the law is being applied equally to everybody, now I see his point.
Well, that brings me to clip number 2.
Parks are closing. Access to monuments is restricted. Even access for those who helped build the monument in the first place. You didn't wait 100 days to enforce the law, Mr. Jarvis, with veterans who wanted to see their monument. You didn't work to gain compliance. Veterans weren't greeted with a measured and reasoned response, Mr. Jarvis. They were greeted with barricades on the very first day. Furthermore, they could not exercise their First Amendment rights to walk to a monument that they helped build, but yet some of our colleagues were allowed to exercise their First Amendment right to protest whatever it was they were protesting on the National Mall. So I'm going to read something to you, Mr. Jarvis, and I want you to ask me if you recognize who said this. Because of the lapse in funding, you are having to deliver difficult news to our visitors and partners. The functions we must perform under a shutdown are not the reasons any of us join the National Park Service, but they are the duties we are required to perform by law and regulation. Do you know who said that, Mr. Jarvis?
I believe I said that.
You're right. You did.
You're the grand prize winner.
Ding, 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 ding.
You have won a new trip to the grand reopening of the U.S. government.
They go back and forth. They go back and forth during the discussion. And when I say back and forth, I mean Gowdy just tears them apart. And it gets to the point where you ask him a direct question, where in the U.S. code or your operating procedure does it say that you will put up barricades? And he never gets a straight answer. In clip number 3, you're going to see that he the director Jarvis starts pushing back with this act. It's ridiculous.
So can you tell me why you would not enforce the law at McPherson Square, but yet you greeted veterans with barricades on the very first day? What regulation can you cite to me that required you by law to erect barricades?
The contingency plan that was approved on September 27th for the National Park System is in compliance with the Anti-Deficiency Act.
I'm looking for a statute, Mr. Jarvis. I am looking for a citation to the Code of Federal Regulation or the U.S. Code for why you erected barricades. We've established you did not enforce the law for 100 days for protesters. Agreed? You agree with me? You did not issue a single citation for camping, right?
I believe that is correct.
Either it is or it isn't. Is it? Not one single citation for camping.
I do not remember exactly.
Well, your previous testimony was that you had not issued a single citation for camping despite 100 days of noncompliance.
If I ever get called by Trey Gotti to go speak in front of him, I'm just going to decline. Because
oh, I'm not. You know what? I wouldn't. I'd stand up. I'd walk over to the bench and I'd high five him. Every time something, I'd just stand up and high five him.
Again, another great example of I think a leader who does the job that he's elected to do, and that's get answers that need to be to questions that needed to be asked. It brought up
I would pour a whole lot of water if it was me. You would just see scenes of me on just as he's asking his question, I'm drinking. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, boy. Don't want to answer that one.
Like just liar, where you just keep filling up the water and guzzling it down so you don't have to answer any sort of question. It's amazing. And a lot of people, mainstream media, didn't cover this at all today from the best that I could tell. But it brought up a good point. Occupy movement, the movement that, Nancy Pelosi and the president all got behind, and hey, these are just this group of young people who are spontaneously going out there and they really want to make a difference. 100 days, not one ticket. Government shutdown, we said earlier, we're going to put the boot to the neck of those who are frail, those that serve, those that should be protected the most, and we're going to put up barricades to make it hurt. How does this get ignored by the masses?
You know how it gets ignored, and I'm going to be very frank and very serious like I am on my show. It gets ignored because they would rather show up on MSNBC and defend themselves of being hostage takers and terrorists than to come on your program and to discuss and educate and illuminate why the 14th Amendment is so vital to any discussion and why it is without reason that if a president of the United States allowed his Treasury Secretary to bankrupt this country, both he and the Treasury Secretary would be breaking rocks forever at Sing Sing. The matter is very serious. They will not come on conservative talk shows and talk about the issues that will garner them the most support. They prefer to be Hollywood actors and go to MSNBC, CNN, and the majors because it will get them greater appearance revenue, I guess, from the big pharma and big industry creators.
Clint.
Yep.
Sorry. You look like you were about to speak.
I was putting my shorts up.
This kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the show. Also, I really wonder if this wasn't passed, if the president would have gotten together with the Treasury to force a default. In which case,
he would.
And that's the thing. And then would Congress have had the testicular fortitude to bring up impeachment charges? And would the Senate have done their duty and convicted? And I guarantee the answer was yes in the first and no in the second.
Exactly. Can I tell you, I want to read something to you, and it's from a very important article that's been around for at least 2 decades now. Tells you exactly the direction that this country is going in. It's the President of the Russian Federation principles under the Constitution of the Russian Federation. The President of the Russian Federation shall be the guarantor of the Constitution of the Russian Federation, of the rights and freedoms of man and citizen, period. According to the rules fixed by the Constitution of the Russian Federation, he shall adopt measures to protect the sovereignty of the Russian Federation, its independence and state integrity, ensure coordinated functioning and interaction of all the bodies of state power. What we talked about tonight on my show, and what I want to say here, is that we watched exactly what happened to the demise of the Roman Empire, where they got rid of the assemblies, the Roman assemblies, the people. They passed them through, got rid of them, paid no attention to them, and then they became a senatorial body and an emperor. And then from that point on, you move to Russian Federation dictatorialship. We are watching history take place in the United States of America when the people who were given the power to control the purse strings now must beg and plead with a dictator to handle the affairs of the estate. It's all open from here.
Have you read Gibbon's Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire?
Yes.
So yeah, classic book. And when I say classic, it's classic. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Ken. I mean, if anybody out there has not studied the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, Gibbons, if you can find it, first of all, did an outstanding job with the history, and also a play that hasn't been performed. And if it has, it sure as heck hasn't been performed widely in the States at all since about the time of the Civil War, and that was Cato. And the story of Cato is a very, very profound story about basically right about the time where Rome turned from a true republic, and you really start to see the decline of the Roman Empire, and was really a favorite play of a lot of our founders and even presidents and so forth, all the way up to about the time of the Civil War. And then it kind of fell off, and it certainly hasn't been popular since about the turn of the 20th century with the rise of the progressive movement.
Exactly. The bottom line is that we're watching history take place, and it's really up to individuals who will decide for themselves if they will primary every single person who will run for election next year, and make certain that they send to Washington individuals who have the utmost faith and confidence in the people and not the utmost faith and confidence in themselves. That's the big difference. And what we saw tonight was one of the great stagings of romantic comedy in the history of mankind. A president who loves himself so much that he will put at risk the very institution that put him in place in the first place.
But he doesn't like this institution. He wants to fundamentally transform the United States. And I'm really curious why or how. Look, I think some of the things he's done comes dangerously close to being criminal in behavior. Certainly to violating his oath to uphold and protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
And
what about putting the fear of God into the marketplace? You're telling the marketplace that you plan on defaulting? This was a planned default. Who in the heck ever heard of a planned default?
Nobody. It's illegal.
Yes. And no one on the floor of the Senate, no one on the floor of the Senate, no one on the floor of the House ever had the courage to say, no one plans a default. Not under our Constitution.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's the problem is courage. And those who did speak with courage through all of this are the ones who have been ridiculed and attacked and destroyed and called names and extremists and factions and all these demonizing titles to make them look like some sort of lunatics because they were actually the ones standing up. It's a strain and a virus that's in our politics right now, where it's about becoming popular and getting voted, not doing what's right, not doing what's principled, not doing what you're actually sent to Washington to do, which is to represent your state and your people, your constituents, the ones who actually pay the bills and the ones whose freedoms you dick around with like it's nothing because you become exempt from it. That's the problem. That's what needs to be changed. And that's the message that needs to get out to conservatives all over this country.
Exactly. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for being the best late-night conservative talk show in the country.
Hey, Ken, thank you so much for joining us. Ken at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. I actually have a special outro that we're going to play tonight because we're out of time, but I want you to stick around and listen to it, and I'm going to get your reaction in the green room, the screening room afterwards.
On the flip side, it's an astronaut term.
Hey, everyone, we'll see you next. Actually, we are off next week. We will see you the following week, and check us out at sackheadsradio.com, on Twitter at sackheads. You just search the Sackheads Radio in Google, and we're like number 5 or something like that. We're getting close to the top, though.
There you go.
See you next week.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News. Radio. Sack News. Sack News. Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.